Today on the LA Food Podcast, what game is Norm Langer playing by reposting Rick Caruso's scathing video of Mayor Karen Bass's efforts or lack thereof to clean up MacArthur Park? Why is Martha Stewart irate over the way she's being portrayed in her brand new Netflix documentary Martha? And why is a trip to Dan Tana's pretty much obligatory in your near future, dear listener? Well, we're joined by SF Gate's Karen Palmer to discuss all of the above. She's filling in for Father Sal, and dare I say, Father Sal, watch out. If you keep abusing your PTO days, Karen just made a case for why there might need to be a change in administration. Too soon? In part 2, we're joined by Richard Pink of Pink's Hot Dogs. The Hollywood icon is celebrating its 85th birthday and is giving out 85-cent hot dogs to celebrate. I caught up with Richard at Pink's to hear about the promotion, but more importantly, to hear his reflections on the little hot dog stand that could. As always, please consider leaving us a rating or review wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm your host, Lucas Servodio, and without further ado, let's chow down. The LA Food Podcast is presented by The Lonely Oyster. Unwind at The Lonely Oyster's Echo Park Night Watch. Did you know that every night is industry night at The Lonely Oyster, dear listener? Stroll in after 10 p.m. nightly for a one-of-a-kind experience designed for the night owls and hospitality pros. Indulge in $12 handshake cocktails, expertly crafted liquid chef concoctions, delicious late-night hot bites, and chef's choice dozen oysters. More than just a place to unwind, The Lonely Oyster warmly welcomes industry professionals, providing a space where like-minded individuals can connect, relax, and enjoy the camaraderie that comes with the late-night scene. Whether you're looking to kick back after a long shift or simply enjoy the vibrant atmosphere, late night at The Lonely Oyster is the perfect rendezvous for those who appreciate good company and great food and drinks. Don't miss this nightly affair and let the good times roll at The Lonely Oyster. Welcoming back to the LA Food Podcast. It is not Father Sal today, but a market upgrade, I might say. It is SF Gate contributing LA Food editor Karen Palmer. Karen, how you doing today?
It's been a weird week, but just like any week.
Yeah.
There have been some ups and downs, but doing okay, getting through it.
Roller coaster, you might say.
Exactly.
Yeah, what Karen is referencing to, dear listeners, the fact that we are recording this on Wednesday, November 6th. So obviously, the Tuesday, November 5th was an interesting one, but we're here. We're still here, right? I want to know from you, Karen, what did you do election night?
Oh, I actually had dinner at Musso and Frank last night. A friend of mine and I decided we kind of wanted to tune out from, social media and results for a little bit, although we were both kind of checking our phones throughout the dinner. It was also sort of the kickoff to my birthday celebrations. My birthday's tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So yeah, we had a steak, we had some martinis, we had some shrimp cocktail. It was allegedly, we sat at Jack Nicholson's table. So I mean,
wow.
It was a good night. But then, of course, afterwards, we started to see the results roll in. So,
You win some, you lose some. Wonderful way to watch the world burn, however, though, right?
Exactly, though, right? And like a nice leather booth and cold drink in hand. It was great.
What more could you ask except for the election going the other way?
Exactly.
Now, are you the type of person that because things went the way they did yesterday, you'll never go back to Musso and Frank's?
No, I mean, I think I love a classic restaurant too much to make that memory. Or you know what? Honestly, I'll probably go back to erase that memory.
Yeah, right. To reclaim it.
And create a new one. So it's reclaimed and it doesn't hold that space in my head anymore.
Yeah, that's actually a great way to frame it. I'm the opposite. I feel like I would just never right. I saw the 2016 election results at the Ace Hotel Theater.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It never went back.
No. Anytime there was an event there, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna sit this one out.
Yeah. No, I get that. There was some trauma there. You had to avoid it. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Triggering. Any memorable meals you've had recently?
Let's see. I went to River in Venice a couple weeks ago. It's Travis Lett, as I'm sure you know, the founding chef of Jelena, just opened up a Japanese izakaya, and I loved it. Going in, I was a little concerned that it might be kind of like precious, but it was like super fun. The food was delicious. Like everybody legitimately, from the guests to the team, seemed like they were having a great time. So like it was just like, it was kind of like lighter and more fun than I expected, which was great. And yeah, I mean, he's an amazing chef. So the food was delicious.
Can I ask what you mean when you say precious?
Just that it was like maybe going to be like take itself too seriously or be like a little too earnest, but like didn't feel that at all. I felt like, like I said, the servers were having fun. They were joking around with us. And like, I still go to Jelena a lot because I live nearby and I love their pizza. He obviously is just like a master with produce and vegetables and stuff. So it's had some like incredible vegetable dishes. So I feel like anybody who's listening who might go, definitely check out that section of the menu because it was really, really good.
Yeah, it's a great tip. Did you ever go back in the day when it was mountain?
I went like once. So honestly, I know some of the ramens are a little similar, but yeah, I don't have such a strong recollection that I can really compare the two. I mean, they completely redid the space, so it does feel different.
For sure. I only went to mountain once too, and it was like 2019, 18, 19.
Yeah, exactly. It was a while ago.
It was a very, very different time in the United States.
Yeah, it was.
And in some ways, the exact same time.
At the same time, yeah.
Now, you got to love the gallows humor, right?
Exactly. Just keep it coming.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be a lot more of that on this podcast, I feel. Now, speaking of classic restaurants, I understand you've got an exciting piece out this week. By the time the listeners will be listening to this, it'll already be out on SFGate. And that is a piece on Dan Tana's?
Yes. Dan Tana's just celebrated their 60th anniversary in October. So that's kind of the hook of why we decided to run a feature about them. And it's really just celebrating the restaurant's history. It also has like a huge, celebrity tie between not just people who dine there, but also like the menu with the celebrity names on it. So really just like taking a look at the history, why people love it. And also I just went back a couple weeks ago. So like, does it still have that buzzy vibe? Are the martinis still flowing? The answer is yes. I am Italian American, so I love that style of food. And it's just like I feel like every time you're there, you might not see a celebrity, but there's like some character there that like makes the night interesting, whether it's the server or your bartender or whatever. So it's just kind of one of those like only in LA experiences.
Totally. I was going to ask you, so this was not your first merry-go-round with Dan Tana's?
No, I actually went once before I even moved to LA. It was probably like a year or two before I moved. And this is in the story, but that night, Kevin Donnelly from Entourage was sitting at the bar as well. So
no way.
It felt like such a very, like, living in New York at the time, I was like, I mean, could you get more LA than Entourage? So it was just like really fun. And I just like sat at the bar and ate chicken parm by myself. But no, I've been back several times. My favorite dish there is actually the shrimp parm, which, I mean, I feel like it's like a sleeper hit. It also is one of those, classic, like traditional Italians. There's the whole like no cheese on seafood thing. So some people might have a problem with it, but.
Not gonna lie, my heart skipped a beat in the wrong way when you said that.
You're like, oh, I know. I'm sorry, Luca. I'm sorry to do that to you.
It's okay. Hey, I trust you. I feel like if you like it, then it'll probably be good enough for me.
Right.
That's really interesting. And next time I'm going to absolutely have to order it. So I feel like Dan Tana's is like such a well-known entity in the city of Los Angeles. What stood out to you as you wrote this story? Did anything surprise you?
Just like reading into the history more and, one of the reasons why it became such a hugely popular restaurant is tied to the success of the Troubadour and them getting musical acts like the Eagles or like Elton John coming through. So yeah, just like digging into that history more. I mean, like in my work at SFGate, I like to celebrate classic places. And I think, we're still, since it's a Bay Area based publication, we're still building the audience down here. So for people from San Francisco, might not be as familiar with Dan Tana. So it's like a fun read for them, especially with the like celebrity and Hollywood element to it.
And was the moment you saw Kevin Donnelly the moment you knew you were moving to LA?
I was like, that's it. I'm sold. Actually, I was already kind of thinking about it by then, but like it was sort of a perfect experience, in terms of like a celebrity setting. It was like a very fun person to see.
Look, without spoiling too much of your piece, because we want folks to go read it and we're going to put it in the show notes, but is there one anecdote that you, in your reporting, that stands out to you?
Got some fun quotes from the general manager who's been there for 10 years. I mean, basically their whole thing is like celebrities love it because they don't fuss over them and because, everybody, like I even feel like people in the restaurant just kind of know, like, don't bother them, it's not a zoo, like don't stare at people. And also, I mean, my second time going there, I was also sitting at the bar with a friend of mine and sat next to this woman who was just fascinating. Former Playboy playmate. I like to use the term well-preserved. She looked fabulous.
I love that.
Said she had owned a nightclub under the Beverly Center in the 90s, was married to a member of the band Journey.
Oh.
Like, just like the stories that she had were like incredible. So like I said before, it's like, I feel like even if it's not a celebrity, like there are just like fun characters there to like strike up a conversation with.
It's one of those places, I'm sure, like you might walk in and be like, oh, I'm so mad there's no celebrities here. But if like you got the opportunity to talk to people at that bar.
Oh yeah. Everybody's got a story. Yeah. And like she was like meeting up with friends that they go there like every Friday. You know what I mean? Like kind of like a standing reservation. So it's like, I don't know. Again, at that point I was still pretty new to LA. So it felt like a very like LA moment as well.
I feel like that's an expensive Friday night habit, but also that's like
totally
pretty LA, yeah.
Why not
drop like $40 on a parm? Why not?
Exactly. Sure. Hey, to each their own.
To each their own. I just wanted to say about SFK, like I've really enjoyed reading the stories that you've been doing.
Thank you.
And everything that since Farley's obviously switched over there, the things that he's done over there as well. Like It's just been a joy to read because it's kind of like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as you said, like you guys are a San Francisco publication, like first and foremost, but obviously expanding the purview of what's covered.
Right.
And so it kind of feels like a completely new angle for even Angelinos to read.
Right.
Like we're not often reading stories that like delve into the kind of like behind the scenes or storied places. We're always like reading news about new stuff. Right. And what's happening. And I feel like your guys' storytelling is really unique in the landscape. I want to know, how do your stories come together? I would kill to be a fly on the wall at one of your and Farley's lunches.
We do. We have a good time. No, I think that is one of the beautiful things about working for SFGate is that because we're not reporting on like new restaurants, we're not tied to that churn of there's always a new restaurant opening in LA. And look, I love the Eater LAs of the world. I love Los Angeles Times and what they do. But yeah, I mean, what we've been trying to do is a mix of classic old school spots that maybe, give it a different angle or a different view. Like I recently did a story about Portos and kind of got to go in the kitchen and see like, how many cakes and pastries and Cubanos that they're like pumping out like every day. And it's insane. So yeah, kind of doing like behind the scenes stuff, went behind the scenes at RC Provisions, which does pastrami and other deli meats for like every top deli here in LA and beyond, like even up in the Bay Area. So it's a mix of that. We do cover some dining trends. I mean, I wrote a piece about LA having the best pizza in the country, which I think you agree with as well.
I do agree with, and I took note of that piece. After finally somebody credible is out there spreading the good word. Yeah, totally.
And then just like profiles. Our readers, for whatever reason, really like stories about like grocery stores. But it's really fun. Like, I don't know if you saw like the Angel recently did a profile this week about a woman who like visits and profiles like every single, specialty grocery store here in LA. And I was like, oh my God, I need to follow her. But also like, it's really fun to go and explore and see like what kind of products they're stocking. So anyway, in terms of like how we come up with story ideas, it's sort of like, we have a running list. Some things are seasonal. Some things feel, like I wrote a story about croissants and how they're suddenly everywhere and people are like lining up. It's just sort of like what's in the zeitgeist and what feels, like it should be talked about now.
And I feel like it's cool too, because oftentimes when we get like new media in the city, it feels like, oh, they're trying to eat this outlet's lunch, right?
Right.
But that's really not the case with you guys. I feel like it's so additive.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Are there any other stories you have in the super early stages, like that you haven't even pitched to Farley yet?
Oh, wow. I mean, I have like a long running list of stuff I pitched to Farley, but some of the stories that I really want to do are you familiar with Gardena Bowl?
Oh, of course.
Okay. So like, the coffee shop in there.
Yeah.
Which serves like delicious food. It's always busy. And it's just like such a funny, like a coffee shop within a bowling alley. And like people love it. And just like quirky. Oh, like, again, that feels kind of like an only in LA place because they're doing Hawaiian food. It's just like.
Yeah, totally.
So that's been in the works for a minute.
And you know what's funny when you say that is like, I love to play the like guessing game of what is Karen working on next. Because I think I saw you post about the Gardena Bowl a few weeks ago. I was like, oh, can't wait for that story.
Exactly. You're like, you could like follow. I mean, you kind of can see what I'm working on by my Instagram. Another one I really want to do is like an experiential at the Porsche driving track. There's a restaurant there called Restaurant 917. So you can like go test drive a Porsche and then eat at this restaurant that's supposed to be really good. So yeah.
That's wild. I had no idea about that one.
Like, I want to drive a Porsche. I unfortunately do not drive a Porsche in my day-to-day life, so.
Me neither.
For some other outlets that I write for, working on a piece about Somni's upcoming reopening for Opa Table, and I'm doing some work with Found LA and covering some new restaurants for them. So that kind of scratches the itch of like the new and hip kind of thing.
Keeping your finger on the pulse of the current scene type thing, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, that is all really exciting. We'll be sure to link to all of it in the show notes. Now, as part of this sort of like unofficial job interview to replace Father Sal on a full-time basis, which, by the way, you're crushing so far.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
One of the things we do is we go over the sort of headlines that caught our eye that week. And I sent a couple over your way. And number one headline that caught my eye, and actually the eye of a lot of readers, it turns out, based on only the comments section of the post we're about to reference, a post that actually Norm Langer put out on the Langers Instagram account. You might recall, Karen, that back in August, I want to say, the LA Times interviewed Norm Langer about MacArthur Park. And in that piece, he sort of dropped this like bombshell, quote unquote, that he was threatening to close if the city didn't clean up MacArthur Park. Now, interestingly, that specific article spurred an emergency meeting with Mayor Karen Bass immediately after. They met up in Langer's Deli over a number 19. I believe that Mayor Karen and her staff listened to Norm's concerns. They promised to do something about it. And just this week, Rick Caruso, former mayoral candidate of Grove fame, I might add, he posted a video on his TikTok, which was basically like a mini documentary.
It was very well produced.
It felt really low budget to me.
Really?
It felt like the Blair Witch Project to me, honestly.
Amazing.
But it was clearly very intentional. Like, it was trying to show that Mayor Bass had not done what she had promised. And the video would be one thing, but the thing is, Langer's Deli actually reposted the video straight up on their Instagram.
Right.
And on their post, it caused quite the discussion in the comments section. I just thought this was interesting because this is one of LA's most storied restaurants right now, very much in the middle of a political debate, just kind of being like used by both sides in some ways as part of the conversation and entering it into it themselves of their own volition. I think what the question that most people have, Karen, is will Langer's actually close over this?
Of course, I hope not. It is such a beloved institution.
Yeah.
What would we do without the number 19? I mean, not just Angelino's, but tourists. I mean, like, it's such a beloved restaurant. So I, of course, hope not. If I had to guess, which, Norm Langer can obviously do whatever he wants with his business, I would be very surprised if they did close. Mm-hmm. But obviously, his restaurants are a hub for the community, and the LA Times also did a story recently on Yoshinoya and their location there and how, it's challenging. So again, like my hope is that it never closes, but
Yeah.
without being in Norm's shoes, I really can't say.
Yeah, naturally. I mean, the reason I think the comment section was so active is because of what you just said, right? Like, it's so beloved. Like, there's a reason why it's sort of held up as like this, like, Langers versus Katz's debate in New York. It's viewed as like a real ambassador of what Los Angeles food is, right?
Right.
But I kind of share your sentiment, and I'll even go one step further. I am going to bet my bottom dollar he does not close this restaurant.
Love it.
Everybody at home, just chill out.
Take note. Lucas said so. He's not closing.
I said so. I'm in Norm's head. The reason I say that is just because Norm Langer is not an idiot. He is a smart guy. He's been operating his restaurant for a really long time. He's also extremely aware of how powerful his voice is as a small business in the community. Like, not all small businesses are created equal, right? Like, they are, but some accumulate more sway over time. Norm knows that. To me, he's playing the game and he's doing it well, right?
Right.
He cares about his community and he wants to see it improve, and this is how he's doing it.
And I do think he's being very smart. I mean, again, I can't also speak to Rick Caruso's intentions of making that video because I'm not in his head. But like you said, they did run against each other in the mayoral race. So
yeah,
maybe there are some future political aspirations for him. Yeah, I mean, he's being very smart in getting the word out and being very vocal about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I will say, yeah, I'll go out on a limb and say I think this is very calculated by
right.
Mr. Caruso. I think there are real machinations, and he understands what people care about.
Right, totally.
Yeah, I think he knows that this is an issue that Angelenos really care about, and the sort of 1-2 punch of like safe neighborhoods plus Langers, that's like a political home run right there. Hey, yeah. There you go. Took the words out of my mouth.
No, totally. And I think it'll just be interesting to see how it develops and what the city can do. I mean, governments unfortunately move slowly, and there's no simple solution here. So we'll have to see like just how this unfolds.
You know what I could see Norm doing down the line? And by the way, this is based on absolutely nothing. I'm not even going to ask you to comment on this.
Great.
But you know how like some storied properties in the cities, like in the city, like Irv's Burgers, even Prince Street Pizza from New York, right? They sold to like basically a licensing company, and then they just like kept existing under that banner.
Right.
I could see a situation in which Norm gets really fed up and decides to just sell it to somebody else like that.
Right.
That's the one thing I could see. Yeah. And to like build the brand and stuff like that. I'm sure he's had offers in the past.
Oh, definitely.
With the number 19, like you're going to get offers.
Exactly. Somebody's going to want to buy that business eventually.
But long story short, it sounds like neither of us think you have to head to Langer's right now to get your last number 19.
I would also probably place a bet on that. So. And now I want a number 19. This is the problem.
I know. And that's the thing. Talking about it always makes you want one. All right. Well, enough about that. But I would actually recommend listeners go and check out the comment section, because I do think it's interesting. Like LA, I feel like we always think we're such like a scene around the country is a very liberal city that only has one political view. And I think actually you see a real diverse array.
There was a lot of pro Caruso in the comment section. So
it's like it's a pretty polarizing thing, and we don't often get debates like that in Los Angeles, so definitely worth checking out the comment section. Of course, if you want to stay away from social media altogether, given the current climate, right. I understand that too, and that's also encouraged in its own way. All right. Hey, Karen, how about we get to the fun stuff?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Although I am having fun.
Okay. But this is the really fun stuff, because just last week, I want to say, maybe a week and a half ago, Netflix dropped a new documentary, which I know caught your attention, but also caught the attention of many millions of Americans around the country. And that is Martha, aka the Martha Stewart documentary. Karen, let me start with this. What is your personal history with Martha Stewart? Well, first of all, I am like a huge Martha fan. So I watched the documentary the day that it came out. I was like waiting for it. I feel like throughout growing up, because I feel like
once I was old enough to like realize, who celebrities were and stuff, she's always kind of been Martha Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that was really interesting about the documentary to me was seeing how she got there. Cause it's like, I knew, some of it I knew she had been a caterer, but like, just seeing some of the history of how she built her brand. And yeah, I mean, I just think she's fascinating and so smart and so like ahead of the times. Like she's always kind of like one step ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the documentary.
I honestly did too, but I'll confess that I only watched it because it was making headlines for how much Martha did not like it.
I know. Honestly, Martha hating her own documentary, I feel like is kind of the most Martha Stewart thing ever.
100%.
You know what I mean? Because like she's known, she wants things a certain way. She's, they use the word perfect a lot in the documentary. Like she's been known for that for a very long time. So like, I'm like, yeah, of course she had notes. Like, But I mean, I also loved that in that you're referring to a New York Times piece where she kind of several things that she was not happy with. I love that the reporter even acknowledges like, oh, I thought we were just going to have like a 10-minute, pleasant conversation. What do you think about the documentary? And then she just launched into all the things that she hated about it. So I was like, classic Martha.
Classic Martha, totally. I'll confess, I obviously knew who Martha Stewart was. I think she really came into my consciousness like when she got into trouble, right? Like I think I was in like middle school when that happened or something, right? And like,
right.
I didn't have a lot of use for her other content at that time.
Yeah, totally.
But when that sort of hit the airwaves, it was like huge news. I was actually a really big David Letterman fan. And I remember that being a like constant.
Oh, I'm sure that the jokes were like monologue fodder for months and months.
Totally. And then actually, I think she came on the show when she got out and it was like a huge deal. I like, that was my first sort of like, I didn't have that much of a preconceived notion about her. Obviously, she's had a huge resurgence recently with like Snoop Dogg and all that stuff.
Right.
I gotta say, I left this with like the most admiration for Martha Stewart. Like it was a really good,
right.
I mean, I won't say it was a really good documentary. I think it definitely like it dragged at times. But in terms of what it did for Martha, I was so surprised she was upset because, like, I was like, They paint her as basically like, the first woman to be a self-made billionaire, to have this like really drastic fall from grace, and then to be able to basically just rebuild it on the strength of her like charisma and savvy, right? Like, pretty dope.
No, totally. And I think like one of the things I found interesting is how they were saying, that Martha was really like the first influencer.
Yes.
Like there's so much conversation about influencers today. And it's like, not only was she the first influencer, but like the proof was in the pudding.
Yeah.
Right. Like she was authentically herself. She, when they show her like renovating the home that she and her ex-husband bought up in Connecticut. I mean, like she was literally in there, like sanding the floors, planting the garden, and then launched her catering company. It's just like, the brand was built so much around her. And one of the things I also found fascinating, and I think this, exists with a lot of people, unfortunately, but I do think there's a double standard for women and men in business. And just like, is she exacting and, maybe hard to work with sometimes? Sure. But like, those are the qualities. Somebody even says this in the doc. It's like, those are the qualities that are celebrated in a man. And, they call her a bitch, it's just like, the fact that she's been able to like continue to be a visionary and grow her brand and go away, as they would say in New Jersey, and then come back and like and not only
is that New Jersey for going to prison?
Yeah.
Wow, that's hilarious.
So like, actually, you're a Housewives fan. That's what Teresa says.
Oh, really?
She says, I went away.
Yeah. Wow. I missed that.
So anyway, but like, and the fact that she was able to come back and just be like, make some really surprising moves and like go on that Comedy Central roast, do the whole thing with Snoop Dogg and kind of and be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I mean, like, she's fascinating.
She's an icon. It was really, and I feel like that word gets thrown around way too often, but like she literally is an icon. And your point about her, the double standard is so real. And I think that like, I think what maybe struck people is the fact that her image was entirely based on this sort of like, being this welcoming homemaker extraordinaire, right? And then to know that behind the scenes, she's like yelling at staff for like not cutting oranges the right way. Right. Like
Right. Using the wrong knife. Yes, that was
Yeah.
an intense moment for sure.
Yeah, that was. I was like, where have I seen this before? I was like, oh yeah, that was my mom in the kitchen when I tried to help. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Like I said, I really enjoyed the documentary, and getting kind of like the backstory of how she became who she is was really, really cool.
Yeah, so Martha's biggest critiques of it in that New York Times piece, which we will link in the show notes, she actually called it shocking, pretty intense. She had issues especially with how she was portrayed at the end of it. She said she looked like a lonely old lady walking hunched over in the garden, which I missed that part personally, but she clearly latched onto it. And then she also was upset that they spent so much time on the trial, that they didn't show her grandchildren.
Right.
Those were the kinds of things that she was upset with. I get it. Like, I'm sure if I had a documentary about myself too, like I would probably take issue with how they crafted it. But like,
well, yeah. And there's always an editor, like, not everything makes it in. I disagree with her saying she looks like an old woman wandering around. She's also like, taking notes for her team like a boss, and like, being like, we need to trim this, and these trees look good. And like, I mean, this is like this amazing, huge garden that she built. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Everybody sees themselves in a different way.
Totally. And the way the end goes, it like zooms out on her as she's driving around her property. And it's like acres and acres and acres of beautiful, stunning, like meticulously manicured land.
Exactly.
And I'm like, that's how you made it, Martha. Like that's what they're showing there. But I get it. I do think they spent too much time on the trial, though. I agree with her on that. Like, we all know that happened.
Well, that's, it's like, that's the like salacious thing.
Well, you say that. I think the real salacious thing was the whole her marriage. Like that I had no idea about, actually.
Right. Well, especially when you're trying to portray this like perfect image, and it's not that by any means.
I will say the one thing I walked away with is I think that Martha could use a little bit of therapy. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, sure.
By the way, we all could, right? We all could.
Exactly. We could all benefit from that.
Yeah. But there's this one very telling moment in the documentary where like she's telling the audience about like her husband's affairs, and I'm sure that was very traumatizing for her. But then she's asked the question like, "Wait, didn't you have an affair as well?"
I know. That was, and she was like, well, that was nothing. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like double standard much?
Yeah.
Or like pot calling kettle. But no, it's, that was, it's a big revelation.
Yeah. But in that sense, great documentary, because it like you do learn stuff about this person. And I feel like you do get to see a side of them that they haven't portrayed before, I think, which is cool.
Yeah.
One thing that the documentary really talks about a lot is how she's managed to stay relevant. Mm-hmm. And they almost like portray that as like the most important thing a person can do.
Right.
They're like, relevance is so hard, especially, and they do say this, especially for like a woman in the public eye to like maintain.
Right. Yeah.
They don't spend a lot of time talking about the other successes she's had, or they kind of just drop it after a while. Do you think relevance is that important, where the focus should have been?
I think for someone like her, it's just making the point of how successful she's been, because she's been able to rebrand herself so many times. Like back in the 90s when she's making like, perfect like little cakes and, whatever, like doing the whole like entertaining thing. Like, would anybody have thought that she would have a show with Snoop Dogg? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, because she is so public and because she's so well known, like, for her, being relevant is really important.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like, to me, like her resilience is really like what I really appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, she's really a strong-willed and strong person, because I mean, a lot of people after going to jail, like might have kind of taken a back seat at the company, or like just kind of disappeared from the public eye, but like she came back even stronger, which is crazy.
She would have made a great housewife, by the way, like on Bravo.
Oh my God, could you imagine?
Direct-to-camera interviews would have been lit.
Totally. Well, it's funny because one of the things that you sent over in like conversation notes was like just the amount of media that surrounded the documentary, and how like, Eater did like a ton of stories about Martha. I think I would want to write one about Martha just being like completely unfiltered and giving zero fucks about it. Like the fact, I forget who she was talking about, but when she was like, well, she's dead now, thank God. I was like, wow. But it's like, she's just so like, she does not care. She just like speaks her mind and like,
no,
take it or leave it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there was literally that moment where she was asked about like, have you ever had an emotional relationship with any of the men in your life?
Right. She's like,
She was basically like, who gives a fuck about feelings?
She's like, I don't care. I just don't care. Like, she's like, I want to know what you're doing. I don't really care how you feel right at this very moment. So
I don't want to sit down and hear what you're feeling for 15 minutes, which is also like 15 minutes. That's all you got.
Exactly.
Wild.
No, I mean, yeah, she is very unfiltered.
Yeah.
It's basic.
And in that sense, like icon needs therapy, but icon.
Yeah, but icon, exactly. I love it.
We could say that about a number of housewives, by the way.
It's true. Oh my God. Yes. Pretty much all of them need therapy. And I love them all, but yeah, it's
I love them all equally. Exactly. All right, Karen, we always end this this segment of the podcast with a mini part called Chef's Kiss or Big Miss. Are you down?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Cue segment music, which you can't hear, but the listeners will.
Okay, great.
All right. In a blast from the past, Eater LA brought back the live blog to chronicle the new Helms Bakery opening/reopening. Is this a chef's kiss or a big miss?
I'm going to give it a chef's kiss because I kind of love that they like kicked it back to the old school. You know what I mean? Especially because they just did a whole package about influencers and like LA food blogs and like, yeah, I thought it was fun. I love those guys. So I'm going to give it a chef's kiss.
Yeah, no, I started you off with a softball on purpose, okay? Because I agree, this is a chef's kiss. This was awesome. Like I miss the days when we had this sort of like, you know, live blog of an opening, and I love that they brought it back. This was perfect for it too, because like there's so many different parts of Helms that they sort of gave us a little snapshot into each of them. So highly recommend going to listen, and I'll put it in the show notes. Okay, you got the first one right. Not that this is a competition. Right. All right, second one. Jimmy John's has released a pickle witch that substitutes bread for a carved out pickle. Is this a chef's kiss or a big miss?
I mean, I'm going to go chef's kiss because I love anything pickled. So like, it sounds kind of delicious. I mean, I know it's super gimmicky, but like, yeah. And isn't like Danny DeVito their spokesperson? Like, who doesn't love Danny DeVito? So I'm chef's kiss.
I don't know if he's from New Jersey, but he feels like he could be.
Exactly, it could be, for sure.
Do you think it would actually taste good? Because I know you love a pickle, but isn't there such thing as too much pickle?
Well,
okay, fair enough. No, I love it. No, stand on business. Stand on business.
I love it. What's your take?
I think it's a big miss. I just believe in balance when it comes to items, and I just feel like there's too much pickle. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's a girthy pickle, and there's not a lot of meat in there, and it's just like it's too much for me.
Girthy pickle. The jokes I could make, but
This is the place to do it.
Exactly. I'm gonna, anyway.
Hold on to those, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Next one, on a recent episode of the Bill Simmons podcast, sportscaster Kevin Wildes said his Mount Rushmore of candy was Reese's, York peppermint patties, chocolate M&Ms, and Necco wafers. Is this a chef's kiss or a big miss?
I'm gonna say big miss because who picks chocolate M&Ms over peanut M&Ms?
I agree. Like serial killer move.
Exactly.
And final one, Taste published an article claiming that a good non-alcoholic martini is indeed possible. Chef's kiss or big miss?
I love a martini.
That's why I put this one on here.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna go chef's kiss because I do think that like the non-alcoholic options have gotten so much better in the past, 5 to 10 years. So like, if there's something that acts and tastes like gin or vodka, I'm a gin martini girl, but so be it.
So be it. Fair enough. I don't know. I know.
I struggle with that one a little bit, but
Have you had any of these NA cocktails?
I mean, at restaurants, I've tried, various. I mean, I think like people are doing really interesting things. I do prefer a traditional cocktail.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I'm literally drinking a Sapporo, which are not show sponsors as we're talking. Yeah, I think okay, so I actually really am digging non-alcoholic beer right now, actually. Like, my wife has gotten really into it and has brought a bunch around the house, and it tastes really good. Like, they've been able to, like, reverse engineer it so that the way that they brew it really tastes like beer. However, with the actual cocktails and the spirits, that has not landed for me quite yet. So I would have to try it first. Right. But because, as you know, as martini connoisseur, like, the alcoholic bite is really kind of...
Totally. That's what, like, makes the drink, really. Yeah.
Yeah, right? So I feel like that would be really hard to replicate. Yeah. So therefore, I'm going to give this, without knowing much, a big miss for now. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Agree to disagree.
Okay, well, congratulations, Karen. You did that way better than Father Sal ever has. So congratulations. Look, I just wanted to say on behalf of all of our listeners, thank you for stepping in this moment. First of all, in this, pretty precarious moment for our country, but B, also in this pretty precarious moment for our podcast without a co-host. Right. So big thank you to you. Where can people find you if they're looking for you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. This is a lot of fun. People can find me on Instagram at Karen L. Palmer. Same on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But I would say I'm more active on Instagram. And my website is KarenLPalmer.com. And of course at SF Gate, but I'm just doing my personal stuff. So
we'll link it all in the show notes. And go give her a follow. One of the best foodie Instagram follows in Los Angeles. So do that. And we're definitely having you back. So you don't even have to worry about that. We'll be back right after the break with Richard Pink from Pink's Hot Dogs. Dear listener, I made a deal with my wife. She let me start a food podcast and eat ungodly amounts of noodles, pizza, sandwiches, and more under 2 conditions. One is that I never utter her name. The other is that I find ways to be healthy outside of my work in food. Being the fantastic partner I am, I found a few ways to up my health game. I exercise almost every day, I try to sneak in salads for lunch whenever I can, and I only ever snack on healthy foods. The macadamia nut has become an essential part of my daily routine with the best omega-6 to 3 ratios in the nut game, 8 times better than pistachios and 20 times better than cashews. At houseofmacadamias.com, they've got a bunch of different macadamia products that you can enjoy, like savory and sweet snack packs and chocolate-covered snack bars. One of the problems with macadamias I've found is that they can be expensive, but I'm solving this for you, dear listener, because as of today, all you've got to do is head to houseofmacadamias.com and use code LAFOOD to get a 10% discount on a healthy snack that also happens to be delicious. So what are you waiting for? Head to www.houseofmacadamias.com/discount/LAFood and go nuts. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with today?
I am Richard Pink, co-owner of Pink's Hot Dogs, a Hollywood legend since 1939.
It's not every day I get to sit in an icon with an icon, and actually we're speaking the day after the Dodgers just won the World Series. I asked you this before we signed on, but could you tell our listeners where you were when you were celebrating?
I was at a restaurant last night talking to waiters that all wanted a pass to get to Pink's, but I was watching the game on my iPhone after having left the house when it was tied at 5-5, but we definitely had plans last evening, had to make them, but it was just a biggest thrill, and I was at a restaurant and people let out the biggest scream and they didn't stop screaming in just the excitement of the Dodgers winning the World Series.
And you guys have been doing some stuff here to commemorate the playoffs, right?
Pink's turned blue, Dodger blue. We painted everything blue, the flooring, the front of Pink's. We had all our employees wearing Dodger t-shirts, and we introduced a Blues hot dog. And the Blues hot dog is composed of mustard, onions, chili, cheese, 3 strips of bacon, and chopped tomatoes. Absolutely delicious. And it sells for $7.17. The 7 represents the number of World Series the Dodgers have won. Now 7 has become 8 as of just minutes ago, and 17 represents Ohtani's Otani's uniform number. And all the profits from the sale of the Blues dog are going to the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation. And on top of which, I bet a famous hot dog stand in New York called Gray's Papaya $1,000 on who would win the series, New York or LA. And of course, we won, and Gray's Papaya will be writing a check to the Los Angeles Dodgers Foundation for $1,000 because they lost that bet.
Congratulations on that, man. That's a huge win. Well, in addition to the Dodgers, I understand that there's a big celebration happening.
Yes, major celebration. Pink's is celebrating its 85th year in business as a family-owned and operated hot dog stand. 85 years. And what we're doing is selling chili dogs for charity for 85 cents for 85 minutes at 8:05 on November 8th for 5 nights. So from November 8th to November 12th, we'll be selling chili dogs for charity at 8 p.m. for 85 cents for 85 minutes, and all the proceeds will be going to a different charity each night. And on the first night, November 8th, we have Mayor Karen Bass coming to serve hot dogs to the city of LA. On November 10th, we have George Lopez, maybe his cast as well from Lopez versus Lopez, coming to Pink's to serve hot dogs. On November 11th, we have Fluffy, the famous comedian, who, by the way, is a major fan of Pink's. And on November 12th, we have the Fonz, Henry Winkler, coming to Pink's to serve hot dogs. So it's a major celebration.
Well, congratulations, 85 years. That's a massive accomplishment. And by the way, dear listener, when you're listening to this podcast, it'll be the 8th or there or thereabouts. So head to Pink's for those 5 nights, 5 epic nights, I might add. Well, look, big birthday, but I want to zoom out and hear the story of Pink's, how those 85 years transpired. How did Pink's actually get started?
Back in 1939, 85 years ago, my parents, Paul and Betty Pink, were in their 20s. They were out of work. They were looking for a job in the newspaper, and they couldn't find a job, but they ran across an ad for a hot dog cart. And the hot dog cart said it's available for $50. And my dad said to my mother, let's buy this hot dog cart, go into business. My mother said, where are we going to get the $50? And she then turned to her mother, my grandmother, and my grandmother loaned them the $50 to buy the hot dog cart. And they heard that there was a location at the corner of La Brea and Melrose that was available for rent for $15 a month. So my mother went down to La Cienega, about 2 miles away from Pink's, bought the cart, paid the $50, and wheeled that cart all the way up Melrose Avenue to the corner of La Brea and Melrose. And they set it up there. And then they realized, okay, it's a dirt lot. They chopped down all the weeds. They were looking for electricity. There wasn't any. Unfortunately, there was a hardware store about 100 yards away from Pink's, the cart. And they went over to the hardware store and they said, look, you know, we need an extension cord to fire up this hot dog cart, but we don't know where we're going to plug it in. He says, I'll tell you what, I'll sell you a 100-yard extension cord and you can plug it into my outlet. And so that's how they fired up the cart for the first 2 years. So during those 2 years, hot dogs were 10 cents, Cokes were a nickel. 1941, 2 years later, the landlord who owned the property raised their rent 67% to $25 a month, and they couldn't afford it. They were still selling dogs at 10 cents. Fortunately, there was a Bank of America branch across the street at La Brea and Melrose. They went over there and talked to the manager, and they said, look, I think we can buy this property. I heard we could buy it for about $4,000. Will you loan us the money? And he said, okay, but what collateral do you have? They said, we don't have any collateral. We don't own anything. Remember, they were in their late 20s, early 30s. And he said, well, look, you got a great hot dog. To me, that's your collateral. Also, I eat lunch there every day. I don't want you to leave. So they said, will you loan us the money? And he said, I'll take pity on the two of you. I'll take a risk. I'll loan you the money. And in 1941, they bought the property. And they celebrated by putting a big awning over Pink's. That was it. And that hot dog cart ran until 1946, when a cousin came along and said, look, I'm going into the construction business. I want to prove I can build something. I will build you a hot dog stand right here, okay, at cost. And they said, let's do it. So we went ahead and built the hot dog stand that is standing today. So when you come to Pink's, that is the authentic hot dog stand that was built in 1946 and has been standing ever since. And so my parents continued with the hot dog business. They had a side business of going in the flour business because they needed 2 sources of income to put food on the table for my sister and me. And they continued to run Pink's for the next 70 years or so.
Wow.
And then back in 1986, they said, you know, we're in our 80s, it's too hard, we got to do something. Who's going to take it over? And my wife, who was a school teacher for 14 years, my wife, Gloria Pink, said, I'll leave school teaching to save Pink's. And she came in and she ran Pink's for the next 30 years.
Wow.
Okay. And then in 2016, I was in the real estate business. And actually, just by way of background, in case people wonder, well, who's Richard Pink? I have a bachelor's degree from UCLA, a master's degree from USC, and a law degree from Loyola. And I always say that's what it takes to run a hot dog stand today. In 2016, I took over Pink's. And, you know, we have a few new locations through the years, but the original is still standing, and we're still about to celebrate our 85th anniversary.
Wow. Happy birthday to Pink's.
Thank you.
Well, I think your cousin, that family cousin, proved that he could indeed build something, right?
It's still standing. Yeah, he did good.
He did good. Richard, what were your earliest memories at Pink's?
Well, my earliest memories were really the fact that I went to grammar school 1 block away at Melrose Avenue School, which is actually out the back door of Pink's. And I remember all my friends saying, oh, Richard, you're such a great guy. Let's go to Pink's. And we would hop over the fence at noon and run over to Pink's, and we would sit behind in the backs of a panel truck that was delivering flowers at the time. I mean, those are my earliest memories. All my friends playing baseball and getting on their bikes and driving over to Pink's and all that. It reminds me of a quick story. There was a fellow who I met not long ago, and he was in his 90s. And he said, in 1939, when I was still back in grammar school, I rode my bike over to Pink's when it was just a cart. And I said, that's amazing. And I said, well, where do you live now? And he says, well, I live at the Motion Pictures home out in Calabasas. And I said, I'll tell you what, I will come and pick you up out in Calabasas and take you to Pink's. I'll roll back the prices to 10 cents. So if you can find a dime somewhere, that would be good. And I said, you don't have to drive your bicycle to Pink's. I'm going to drive you over there. And when we showed up, I said to the staff, I said, this gentleman, okay, used to ride his bike to Pink's in 1939. So I want you to know, customers do come back.
It doesn't matter how long it takes them.
Right.
They come back. That's amazing. Wow, what a story. The guy from 1939.
Yes.
That is wild. So it sounds like you didn't really always have it in your mind's eye to take over the business someday?
Well, that's very observant and perceptive of you. My parents always viewed Pink's as just this little hot dog cart. And even though it, became well known in guidebooks and online, and people from all over the world had heard about Pink's and come, they never viewed it as more than a hot dog cart. And they said, Richard, I don't want you to grow up to be a grill man. I want you to grow up to be a professional. That's what we're making money, so you go to college. And so they pushed me in that direction, and I was fine in that. I felt very professional. I felt I had accomplished something based on my parents being able to work, I used to say, from dawn to exhaustion to be able to raise the money to get me a college education. But, it was always my plan B. And fortunately, I was lucky enough to have my wife take over. My sister was like the ambassador for Pink's and all that. And now it's sort of my career. So I had 2 careers, one in real estate, one in law, law and real estate together, and now Pink's.
That's really cool to be able to have those chapters.
Yes.
So your wife took over in 1985, and I understand that she instituted, or perhaps yourself as well, instituted some changes to the menu. Can you talk us through that?
Well, my parents always had a hot dog, a burger, a tamale on the menu. It was a very simple menu. And I would say to my dad, you bring bacon to Pink's and you put it on your hot dog. Why aren't we putting it on customers' hot dogs? And he would go, too much trouble. I got to keep track of the bacon. I don't know. We'll get it on time and all that. And they didn't want to make any changes. And they, anytime I introduced an idea of a new hot dog, it was like, oh no. The only one I think I got through on my dad was to put sauerkraut on a chili dog, which is a very strange combination, but actually tastes good. But in 1986, when my parents said, okay, Gloria, you take over, Richard, you provide advice and all that, but we still want approval. And I fought for, putting new dogs on the menu. And finally they relented. So we went from 4 or 5 hot dogs on the menu to today we have over 40 varieties of hot dogs on the menu. And a lot of celebrities have come to Pink's and they said, look, let me create a hot dog and you can name it after me. So, Rosie O'Donnell, Martha Stewart, Emeril Lagasse, Mario Lopez, Ozzy Osbourne, El Kukui, a DJ, the LAFC soccer team. So now Pink's has probably about 10 hot dogs named after celebrities. In fact, when Mulholland Drive was filmed here, we actually named a hot dog after Mulholland Drive hot dog.
Wow, cool.
So there's all these different varieties, and the way I looked at it is that I wanted people to come to Pink's and have a lot of fun. And one of the fun things is to read the menu and pick out what you want.
Of course.
Because there's all these crazy toppings that I have to hand it to my customers. They come up with their own customized hot dogs, no matter how many I have on the menu. People say, yeah, but I want this on, and I want fries on top of my chili dog, or I want onion rings on top of my chili dog. I mean, it's totally a happy place. It really is, and people have really happy times here.
What's the wackiest combination you've ever seen?
The wackiest combination. Well, what I thought was really wacky was our Guadalajara dog, okay? So I had a server here, and he was from Guadalajara, and he said, down there they put sour cream on top of a hot dog with relish and tomatoes and lettuce and chopped onions. And I said, sour cream? That sounds crazy. It turned out to be a big seller, I have to say. And then Martha Stewart came along, and she added sauerkraut, and she added bacon, and she called it the Martha Stewart dog, but it started as the Guadalajara dog.
Wow, that's a great story. Are you yourself most proud of any hot dog combination you've come up with?
I'm proud of all my children. But I would say the one that turned out, maybe it's kind of wacky, but this DJ called El Kukui said, I got an idea for a hot dog. I want a 12-inch jalapeno dog, which is on the menu. So, in terms of the dogs that are on the menu, we got a 7-inch all beef dog that snaps when you bite into it, a 9-inch stretch. We got a mild Polish, a spicy Polish, a 12-inch jalapeno dog, we got a turkey dog, and we got a veggie dog, okay? But I'm going to read to you I don't want to mess it up, okay? But the El Kukui dog is a 12-inch jalapeno dog, and it's spicy, but it doesn't have a kick that'll, basically, make you to lose, fall over in a chair. It's topped with mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, grilled onions, jalapenos, and bacon. And it turns out that when people venture away from the Brando dog, which is mustard, onions, chili, and cheese, or just a basic chili dog or any of the other dogs we got, they go for that El Cucuy. And then it turns out they're addicted to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is about it, but people love it and they order it a lot. And you know, the other thing that I love on our menu, our onion rings are just dipped in our barbecue sauce, which is so yummy, so good. We really fry our onion rings and we fry our French fries in a special way so they're all consistently brown, consistently crispy, consistently good.
Well said. You're making me hungry over here.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? That means you're doing your job right.
Right.
Now, okay, look, some people might look at Pink's and think, it's a hot dog. How good can it be, right?
Right.
We've all had hot dogs. What makes a Pink's hot dog so damn good?
Well, the first thing that makes it so good is it snaps when you bite into it, okay? The ingredients of that hot dog is just so tasty. The blend of the spices is just right. And then what makes it particularly special are all the toppings we put on it. So you start with a hot dog that is the same hot dog that your grandfather would have had in 1939. And the chili, okay, which is an original recipe from my parents, is the same chili from 1939. So you want consistency. You want a taste of what it was like back in the day. That's what makes our hot dog so special. But also, there's a lot of wows when you come to Pink's. I mean, people call us a Hollywood legend. I like to call ourselves the little hot dog stand that could. Okay? All of our staff have been with us 15, 20, 30 years, okay? After COVID, they all came back because we treat our staff so well. The atmosphere goes back to 1946. The line that goes down La Brea, a lot of people say, I don't like waiting in line. They get in line, they go, this is a great experience. I just met the person behind me. I just introduced myself to this lady in front of me and I asked her out for a date. And many times people have come to me and they said, we're celebrating our anniversary. And you know where we met? We met in line at Pink's. So if you want to get lucky, come to Pink's. It may happen in line.
That is another selling point, a completely unique selling point I would not have anticipated, so thank you for that. Okay, if you walk into Pink's, it's really hard not to notice the wall of celebrity photos. It's just about everybody you can imagine. You must, over the years, have one favorite celebrity story.
Well, I have one favorite celebrity story, but let me give you the start of that wall. Okay, that wall, as soon as Pink's was built, actors that wanted to get into the business would come out to LA from Ohio or Tennessee or wherever, and they would hang their picture on the wall because they had heard the producers like Orson Welles or Howard Hughes or actors like Spencer Tracy or Brando were coming to Pink's, and they hung their pictures hoping that they would get discovered.
Wow.
That's how that wall began. And then eventually we said, oh my God, we got all these pictures, thumbtacked up on the wall. We got to, put them into frames. And so every time a celebrity comes in, they come to us and they say, would you like my picture on the wall? Or we ask them. And that's how the wall got started. But if you want like one or two all-time favorites, okay. My all-time favorite, honestly, was Michelle Obama. What had happened is that we were at Pink's, my wife, myself, my sister, and a guy came up to us and said, are you the owners? And we didn't know what he wanted. We thought maybe he was complaining about something. He was wearing like a Tommy Bahama shirt and a pair of cutoffs and flip-flop. And we said, well, why? He says, well, he pulls out his wallet and he shows us, he says, I'm with the Secret Service. And we go, oh my God, what's that all about? And he says, in about 10 minutes, somebody that's very, very famous is going to show up at Pink's. They're going to drive up in the Escalade up your alley here and then come out. And we said, oh my God, who is it? I can't tell you who it is because if it gets the word out, they will just drive by. Okay, we want, it to be just very quiet and all that. And we're thinking, maybe it's the governor of California, maybe a senator. And we said, well, you got to tell us who it is. And they said to us, look, if you live on planet Earth, you will know this person. 3 Escalades come driving up our alley here, and out steps Michelle Obama, Sasha, her daughter, her mother as well, and all of a sudden they come walking up to our patio and sit down, and we all bring them a menu. What would you like on your hot dogs? And Michelle, she was one of the smart ones. She looked at our menu and she says, well, I want something from the Aussie dog. I want something from the Martha Stewart dog. I want something from the Okakui dog. I mean, she created her own custom. I mean, very fast. I was very impressed. And we served them, and they said, how delightful. We really enjoyed it. And we got to go now. Everybody, it was packed. Everybody in the patio, 60 people, stood up and applauded as they walked away, and Michelle turned around, and you know how beautiful she is, and she just waved to everybody, and it was the greatest moment in the history of Pink's.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. I have never gotten an applause for eating a hot dog, so that's doubly impressive in my eyes. But okay, you said that's the greatest moment in the history of Pink's, as far as celebrities go, or in general? Do you have another moment that you could point to for your own self?
We've got a couple of fun stories. One was James Corden. On his TV show, he had a segment called Take a Break. And what he would do is he would go out to a business and he would tell each of the employees, I'm going to take over your job for 10 minutes, so go take a break. And he came here and he did everything. He served hot dogs. He was hilarious behind the counter. He wiped the tables down, everything. And then he put on a hot dog outfit and pretended to take the bus. And so then the bus came along in front of Pink's, and he steps on the bus, and the guy said, whatever the price of a bus ride is. And he says, I don't have any money, I'm a hot dog. And so James Corden. Another one was Jay Leno pretended it was 1972, and he drove up in one of his famous sports car, and behind the counter, Aerosmith was serving hot dogs. So this was supposed to be before Aerosmith was famous. And Steven Tyler and Joe Perry are going, hey, Mr. Leno, what do you want on your hot dog? And he told them, and they made him a hot dog, and they said, Mr. Leno, we have a band, and we really would like to play for you, and maybe you put us on your show or something. And so he said to the guys, well, play for me. And they did, and he said, guys, I don't think so. I don't think you'll make it, but dream on, dream on. And Steven Tyler plays the whole song from Dream On TV. I mean, those are examples.
Those
are
great.
Of the fun things.
Those are just some of the, I'm sure you probably could spend all day talking about.
Well, there's another one that's really good. The one where Brad Pitt was kidnapped in front of Pink's.
Wait, this was a bit, or did it act? Yeah.
No, this was Jackass the movie.
Oh, okay.
So he's screaming and hollering, save me, and nobody in line, and nobody knew what was going on, and they throw him in the back of a panel truck, and my staff go running after the truck and down La Brea, and then they stop, maybe 50 yards away, and he gets out, he says, don't worry, I'm okay, it's just a movie.
Wow, kudos to your staff for the bravery there.
I agree.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, look, I know that Pink's now, obviously, it's a Los Angeles icon, but it's also a globally recognized property. I believe you have a location in the Philippines?
We do. We actually have 3 locations in the Philippines. We partnered with a wonderful family in Manila who knew Pink's, said, look, we want to bring Pink's to Manila. The Filipino people love hot dogs, okay? It's part of their diet. I mean, they eat hot dogs for breakfast. So we really believe Pink's will be successful, and they opened, and we had all these Filipino stars, movie stars that are opening many years ago, and we're still there. In fact, I'm going to go back in January because I understand we're going to open a 4th Pink's in Manila.
Wow, Pink's becoming rapidly growing in the Philippines. Who would have known it?
Right.
Well, Richard, I just want to say thank you. You've been so generous with your time. I also, again, want to say congratulations. I mean, it's not even lunchtime here at Pink's, and already there's people chowing down on hot dogs in the patio. Almost 85 years later. That's crazy. Right. But I wanted to close on this question.
Sure.
When you look back on your journey and Pink's journey so far, what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of what we have done for the community in terms of chili dogs for charity. So many charities ask us for gift certificates, and we readily give. Whenever we have done some event for charity where we serve at the event, I'm so happy that they're able to raise money. Sometimes I'll offer a catering for $50 or a catering for $25, and they bid $5,000, $7,000 because people like to give, and it's a fun thing to have. And, it's an example of what Chili Dogs for Charity will be at the 85th, where we're giving $5,000 a night for 5 nights. So it's a $25,000 gift to various charities. And I'm most proud of that. There's no question about that. I'm also extremely proud of the fact that we have staff and provided employment for, a staff of 25, most of which have been with us 20, 30 years. I'm very, very proud of that. And of course, I'm proud of the fact that people, keep coming to Pink's, come from all over the world. They hear about us, sure. But what we do for the community is the most important thing.
Very well said. Richard, thank you and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the LA Food Podcast. Thanks to our guests, Karen Palmer and Richard Pink, for making the time for us. Thank you to you, dear listener, and thank you to Abdo Haj for his help producing this podcast. If you like what you heard today, dear listener, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts, leave us a rating, review, subscribe. Seriously, all that stuff really helps us make our way up the charts on Spotify and Apple. We'll be back next week with another epic episode, but if you're looking for me in the meantime, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, and of course our website, the LA Countdown. That's TheLaCountdown. You can also find us on Instagram at LA Food Pod. That's LAFOODPOD.